It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
So here it is, Wednesday evening. Here we are, dressed like everybody who knows us would expect us to be dressed, considering what's happening Sunday. Terry Brown coming from the Midwest, Vinny Hardy here in Tennessee. Cats Talk Wednesday, man. How we doing? Even though we're gonna be enemies this week, we it's the collision course. We should have been undefeated as well, but we're not. Cowboys, Niners, Sunday at 7. That's just one of the many things we got to talk about on this episode. Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
We coming back out there to Levi's Stadium and need to prove to ourselves that we can beat y'all. So it's been a minute and 2 playoff exits. So we need one of these hurdles for us to try to get over. That's where we are with this thing. So tons of stuff besides that. I think Ray Davis just gashed Florida again for another explosive play, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes, sir. 5-0. Heading into Georgia, where everybody hoped they would be. That's where they are. So big weekend. Cats and dogs, Cowboys and Niners. We're streaming on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook Live. Follow us at Cats Talk Wednesday on the Twitter or X or whatever. The Twitter, I still say Twitter, and the Facebook page.
You say the Twitter like an old person, but that's all right.
I'm doubling down now since it's and I already got a comment in here too. So let's see what we got here. Let's show this comment. Oh, it's your homie, Kevin Hale. Round of shots. My bros, hope you dudes are well. We doing well, Kevin. Appreciate you jumping in here and appreciate everything you do on Sunday. Letting a 49ers fan be a panelist every week. That's a good deed right there, man, that you let Jerry Rice Brown on your fine podcast each and every week. So it's already started, man. It's gonna be this all evening.
You wasn't this chesty in the playoff matchup. Let the record show. now you're being chesty. Okay.
We I don't know. We can't do that differently. You are positive, and I'm not negative. Some might think I am. If I think my team, if I'm not that confident, I'm always hopeful, but I wasn't too confident in those playoff games. I'm watching, hoping they win. It's like you fill your bracket out Kentucky every year. I don't always do that. I'm just as hopeful that they win as you. It doesn't make me bleed less blue than you. We just kind of approach it differently. And
yeah, absolutely.
I'm confident coming into this Niners game, but they gotta show us a little something. We tired of losing to y'all, and they need to prove it to themselves more than anybody that in case we see y'all again, that we got a solution to these problems that y'all pose.
Niners rolling, man.
They are.
12 straight regular season games, or 14 straight, and 16 out of 17 total games. The only loss being the NFC Championship game when I could have played quarterback. So it's a good time to be a 49er fan, man.
Looks like your whiteboard is going to be banned. Or maybe whiteboard not on this show. Or maybe he's trying to ban it for Sunday. Either way, we'll see. He's yelling. He's typing in all caps and everything. I'm just saying. The whiteboard is not allowed on this show.
It's preparatory.
Whoa.
I can't even say it tonight.
Lord. Lord.
Preparatory.
Perpetuatory? What you trying to say? I don't.
It's mine is what I'm trying to say.
Preparatory? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm struggling today.
Anyway, man.
But yeah.
Go ahead. But how you doing and what's going on? Thoughts on where you want to go? I'm gonna send this link to our guest. 2 guests coming up as well. Memphis Spence, sports director, sports radio, the College Credit Hour coming up at 7, and Nick Sturgill, director of operations for the Portal 31 Coal Mine and Tour in my hometown of Lynch, Kentucky. You know, transfer portal is the hot word. Portal. We've been talking portal for years because the portal is actually the entrance to coal mines. This portal is where you can come and see, ride through the mine itself. Having the grand reopening. Nick is director of operations. A lot of big dignitaries from the state going to be down in Lynch, Kentucky on Friday. So Nick's going to talk about the history of the portal and everything he does. So that's going to be cool. I'm going to go up there, observe the grand opening. So it's going to be fun in my hometown of Lynch. I drove you right by it when you were down for my dad's memorial service, going to my mom's house. Drove right by where that entrance to the mine is at. So looking forward to talking with Nick as well. And I'm going to get this link to Memphis Spence. And, man, I'm going to let you wax poetic about – because I got a little chesty and talk a little bit. And, you know, you can –
Well, yeah, we got to talk about the Cats taking on the Gators. I mean, 3 straight, 4 out of 6. I never thought I'd see that happen. And I know this is not your Danny Werfel's Florida, your Tim Tebow's Florida, Rex Grossman, Florida, whoever else, or even Jesse Palmer. I forgot till the game was going on that he had that 4-touchdown rushing performance some years ago. I just never thought it would get to the point where Kentucky, top to bottom, was a better football team. Like, it never felt that Florida was going to make a push. Kentucky's defense was too good. And Ray Davis, what else can you say? 3rd best rushing yardage day in Kentucky history. Just tremendous. The big blue wall finally lived up to the billing. And so, as you and I have talked about, I know that was a historical performance, but if you've got something you can hang your hat on, I like this team moving forward. Defensively, and I've got this. I'm no Corey Price, but I got some numbers. Let me get the numbers.
Big boss man, Ben Sutter. Head honcho, BS3 Network jumping in. What's up, Ben? Appreciate you.
But Ray Davis, 26 rushes, 280 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Also caught a 9-yard pass for a touchdown. That's tremendous. On the defensive side, ATN for Florida was that dude. You know, that was the talk going in was, could we stop Florida's rushing attack? 29 rushes total for 69 yards, 2.4 yards a clip. Yeah. They could handle that Florida rush. So it's so bizarre is that Mertz was 25 of 30, 244 yards, and rated out pretty high, but I just never thought that they were in the game.
No, sure weren't.
You know, Kentucky fans, and look, I get it. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. We've been up on Florida big before, but I'm like, this ain't that. This right now ain't what we're used to with Florida. I mean, it was at least a 2-touchdown cushion for 3.5 quarters of the game. And it just never felt. And that's what the passing game kind of misfiring. Leary being 9 of 20 with some drops, and he was a little off the mark a little bit, but still, it was a comfortable win against Florida, and I don't think we played our best game.
Yeah. And the fact that Ray did what he did, he's the only back besides Mo Williams to ever top 100 yards against Florida in Lexington. Mo and Ray, and that's it. And I know, they had the upper hand and been dominant, but we've had some good running backs come through, and Mo and Ray are the only two to top 100
Yeah.
against. That's ridiculous. Ooh.
So you gotta bask in that, right? You gotta bask in the great performance. This was a best case. Obviously, going 5-0 is your best case scenario through 5 games. But for me, it's the defense that has been spectacular. When you got Deion Walker and dropping back in pass coverage and leading to an interception, I'm excited. I know we're going to look ahead to Georgia, but for me, I'm of that generation. I'm not looking a Florida W in the mouth, right? I'm to the point, when you go almost 40 years without seeing it, let me bask in this a little bit.
The 19-point win was the largest margin of victory since friend of the show. We had him on here several times. Juan Portela, who was the quarterback of the Cats in 1979 when they won 31-3. Hadn't beat Florida that bad since Juan was quarterbacking the Cats when we were a year and a half or 2 years old. So.
Well, and this is the thing too, that Corey Price, we had him on last week. He's a numbers guy. And every Sunday, he kind of gives us the numbers on Kentucky football. And every Sunday, this is what happens. He gives us a nugget where it's like, Kentucky hasn't done this thing since Bear Bryant was on the sidelines in 1950-something. The 3 straight over Florida, the defensive yardage per game, things like that. And it's just, we're living in great times. We really are.
We got to keep this going because our guest is in the BS3 Network Green Room, a friend of the show. We talked about it. I said it to his face. We can take a topic that we'll spend 5, 10, 8, 12 minutes on. This dude can do a whole 2-hour show on that one topic and not bore you and not be redundant. We're talking about our guy, the program director from the Sports Radio America Network. He is from Memphis, from down there where Mama B is from, TB, you know that. He hosts the College Credit Hour on Mondays and Fridays. Voter, member for the Football Writers Association of America. He's big time is what I'm trying to say. Memphis Spence is backstage, and he joins us right now. What's up, Memphis? How you doing,
man? Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hey, being Kentucky fans, this is a pretty good run so far. So we're doing fantastic.
Is that three in a row on Florida?
3 in a row over Florida. First time since like 48, 49, 50, 51 something.
Yeah. First time since Rupp was one of his first titles.
Yeah. I wasn't alive. During that run. And it's interesting because I remember, if you think back to like 2011 and Joker Phillips, and the way he beat that last game of the season when he beat Tennessee, I was like, there's something there. There's something there, there's something there. I don't know if he's going to get a chance to build on that, but I tell you what, man, just to watch Kentucky build their program from that point to this point is ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of been an uphill climb up a mountain, but this is going to be a really legitimate game against Georgia that a lot of people are like, I don't know. But back in the day, it used to be, oh yeah, it's Georgia. This is, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. They weren't even looking at these games seriously. Now this might actually be the game for the East this year.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. And so it's a total night and day. And if you look the last few years, Georgia really hasn't blown Kentucky out. I know it doesn't count, horseshoes and hand grenades, close doesn't count, but still 16-6 last year. It's been a while since they've put up those 50, 60-point games. It's been a physical game, which what I would anticipate to see this coming Saturday.
Yeah, 30-13 last time they were in Athens. It was a 14-3 game the time before in Lexington. So,
Mhm.
and like everybody's entitled to their opinion. I caught Pat Dooley's podcast because he's all things Gator, and
Of course.
he was on with Steve Spurrier, and he was like, I think Kentucky's good, not great. But I think they're gonna get waxed by Georgia. I'm like, have you seen the last several Kentucky Georgia games? They haven't blown Kentucky out in a while, like Terry said. Now, we still getting blown out by it's.
I'll say this: this game, well, in my opinion, this game has a lot to do with Leary. And I've been kind of watching him. When he was at NC State, uh, the cool thing about Leary when he was at NC State, he didn't turn the ball over much. This year, though, he's been kind of like I don't think Leary turned the ball over, had more than 5 interceptions a year when he was at NC State, and I think he already has 5 this year. So I've been kind of watching him. I'm like, because he was one of the guys on my watch list. Like, let's see. He's been injury prone. He had that one good year a couple years back. 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and we're like, is this an NFL bid or something here? And then he got injured in 2022, transferred, and he's on my watch list to watch to see if he's NFL worthy or somebody should take a flyer at him maybe late in the rounds. But this game's really gonna tell us a lot about that, because if he can not turn the ball over, run stuff, and I guarantee you Stoops have to. If I'm Stoops, I'm running everything off of play action, just because of what I saw last week with Florida and that line moving people. That was impressive, guys. That was probably one of the most impressive wins that I've seen this year. The way Kentucky moved Florida off the line. And we're talking about Florida. These are legit athletes out there. Even if their coaching is kind of suspect these days, there's still some legit athletes, and I'm like, man, this Kentucky line is moving people. So I was impressed by that. I actually hit up the Doak Walker Award and was like, hey, man, you might need to take a look at this. Somebody needs your attention over here. And,
and they heeded the urging of Memphis Spence. His words have power.
I like to lead people in the right direction. Right. I like to point out, like when I saw Ray Davis, I was like, in the first quarter, I was like, oh my, let me make sure that somebody's watching this, because I vote on 10 of the 25 college football awards, but I know somebody that votes on all of them, Heisman, everything. And so, I like to point people in the right direction on things. And when I see something, I'm like, okay, watch this. Because if they're not watching the game, if we don't alert them to what's going on, or if they don't know, if there's not enough voters watching, then Davis doesn't get, it really has to do with the actual individual performance, not necessarily the numbers. But if you get enough people watching, if there's enough voters watching or whatnot, and, they send out those alerts, then you can get people, you can get on the radar for the year. And I think that's where Davis is winning that Doak Walker of the Week award. He's now on the radar for the actual award later on this year. But it all came through that offensive line, man. That offensive line it's looking nice, guys. It's looking nice.
And we were concerned as Kentucky fans because it wasn't quite what it had been, for the Benny Snell years, for the Chris Rodriguez years. Mm-hmm. Last year, I think, was an aberration. But it looked like, to me on Saturday, hey, we're back to it.
And things getting guys in the right place, pieces in the right place. They had Jagger Burton at center, and there were some high snaps. They moved him back to guard. This was his second game back at guard. Eli Cox back at center. And, like, if people are healthy, maybe you can catch a rhythm and find that groove that they hadn't been able to find for a little bit.
Maurice Cox and Dylan Ray, that left side of the line. All of us. Now, back in the day, I was a lot skinnier and I ran track. Now, no, I'm not putting in a 5. I'm not putting in any 4.5s or anything like that. No, I'm not running anywhere right now. But I guarantee you, behind that left side of the line on Kentucky, it looked easy, and I was like, man, they could run off tackle all day because. And when you have something like that where here's 4 yards if you want it, whenever, because Florida wasn't, for whatever reason, Florida could not. The left side of the line for Kentucky was just killing them, and those 2 guys in particular, Dylan Ray and Marquise Cox, killing them, and they knew they had that in the bag whenever they wanted it, go left or whatnot. So then you can build everything off of that. You can build play action off of that with Leary if you wanted to. You can counter off of that. You have everybody shifting over to that side because, that side's so strong. You counter off of it, and all of a sudden there's these big gaps on the right side that, one good block, it's gone for 30 yards. And it looked like the game was a little bit too easy for Stoops. How long has he been there now? He's been there, what? 6, 7?
11.
I think this is year 11. He's
11.
only behind Saban as far as SEC longevity right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
It was Saban and then Stoops and then everybody else.
Yeah, Saban and then Stoops. That's he has legitimately built Kentucky into a powerhouse, and that's something that I think. Just watching it happen over the years. I remember there were years where everybody was like, hey, one day Kentucky's going to have a 10-win season. And I remember, just kind of watching a couple of 5 and 7 years and a couple of 7-5 years and whatnot. I'm like, no, he's building something here. He's building something. And then I called my shot in 2018 because I thought, okay, this looks like the rest of these teams over here. This might be the 10-win team that everybody's been looking for years.
You said it on here, like in week 2. You came on here and said that.
I'm an analyst. That's what I do. Like I try to point people in the right direction. And when I see something, I kind of try and point it out and let people know this is what I'm seeing. Now, if this happens, this is why. And Kentucky's been a powerhouse basically since that point. 2018 it was kind of like planting the flag, like, hey, we're in the SEC. We're not, you can't take us lightly. We're on your schedule. We're going to beat you if you don't scheme for us. And it's been like that for a while now, especially I couldn't imagine beating Florida 3 times in a row. That's an accomplishment, guys.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, I'm just saying, for me, it's losing to Kentucky used to get you fired in the SEC.
Right.
Right. All those Florida coaches, was it McElwain? Was that the coach, Vinny, who beat Florida the first time? And all the South Carolina coaches, starting with Steve Spurrier, he lost to Kentucky. He's like, I'm not even finishing the season out. I'm done. I'm out. Well, it's not that anymore, right? It's like, well, we've got to do better. It's not just this freak thing where it's like lose to Kentucky. Now you got to go update your resume, right? You got to go to Career Builder or whatever. And that to me is a step in the right direction. And I want Kentucky fans to understand that. Like in Memphis, you cover college football. You understand you got to find out as a program what makes you happy. Yes, everybody wants to win a championship, right? But if you're not on that echelon, how else do you find your joy, right? You beat your rivals, right? You knock off one of the big boys you haven't beaten in a while, and you go to a pretty good bowl game. That is the majority of college football. That's where like 80 teams are, right? You're trying to get to that 8, 9, maybe 10 win plateau. Have some fun. That's what you should be looking for. I think just football in general, we're looking for this playoff and the championship. That to me is not what college football is all about.
That it is for certain programs, but it's not for most. Every year
Right.
I tell people, like, when we're coming into this season, and I had Bill Bender on Sporting News the other day, and we'll at the beginning of the season we'll kind of put out like, okay, these are the 10 teams that can make it. And I don't know, between him and I, when we pick out those 10 teams, it's very rare. I think Cincinnati one year got into the college football playoffs a couple, but it's very rare that like 3 of the 4 teams are usually right, because that's how they built this thing. They built it to keep people out. It's different than like college basketball, where they built it for inclusion. They built that so that there's a lot of teams in. They keep expanding it. Now it's at 68. So there's a lot of teams in with an opportunity. They built the college football playoffs for the opposite, exclusion. They're just trying to keep other teams out or whatnot. And if you're not, it's hard to get into the college football playoffs starting unranked in the season. Because starting unranked in the season, you literally have to beat at least 4 ranked teams to even get into the conversation. Most of the time, the teams who are ranked at the beginning of the season are the teams that the media, self-included, have picked out to say, hey, these are the teams, this is how they finished last year. This is who they lost to the NFL. This is who they gained through now it's the portal and through recruiting. And this is kind of where we see them, at the start of the season. And if you're not in those top 25 or my Super 16 or something, the FWAA Super 16, it's really hard to get into that top 4 to 6 position to even be in the discussion to get into the playoffs. So you're right, Terry. I mean, it's for most of us, it's, hey, can we get to a New Year's Six Bowl? That's a crowning achievement, right? If you can get to a New Year's Six Bowl, or if you can not only have a good year and beat your rivals, but can you take that next step? What's that next step for the program, and are you approaching that? Whether that's a 10-win season, whether that's, somebody win a Outland Trophy or a Doak Walker Award or a Bronco Nagurski Award or an out, somebody wins an award. You take a next step as a program. You get a significant amount of players into the NFL. You have a football program, and that's where I say, outside of that top 5% that can get into the playoff every year, the other 35%, of upper echelon college football teams are basically playing for something like that. And that's what the top 40% is looking at. The top 5% is basically, trying to vie for the college football playoff. The other 35% below them are looking at, an accomplishment. Somebody wins an individual award. Somebody gets into, maybe the team can get into a New Year's Six game or something, whatever the next step is for that program.
And this is what we've talked about before on here, is everybody thinks my program should be a 9-win program. Like, we just assume that. But, and this is where I get to throw out some numbers, Vinny. Over the last 50 years, and that's BCS, that's playoff, that's back when we were splitting national titles. Only 5 programs have averaged 9 wins over the last 50 years.
Sounds about right.
Bama, Georgia, Nebraska, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
Okay.
That's not Michigan. That's not USC. That's not Texas. That's not Florida. That's not Florida State. That's not the U. And so my thing is, when it comes to football, yes, playoffs and that goal is nice, but how else are you going to be happy? Because I tell folks, I'm in Iowa now, right? And people are like, how can Kirk Ferentz be here 25 years? And I'm like, he beats Iowa State 85% of the time.
There you go.
He beats Nebraska like 70% of the time. He beats Minnesota. They play for that pig trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, 70, 80% of the time. Yeah. And when things break right, over the last 10 games, they got a winning record against Michigan.
Fantastic.
And they've beat Ohio State a couple of times, and they have Mackey Award winners. That's for tight ends, Vinny, because they breed tight ends here, right? They just honored Robert Gallery when he won the Outland Trophy a couple years ago. Right. And that, to me, that's embracing who you are as a program. Is that embracing mediocrity? No. but it's saying this is what we're going to do, and I think more programs should try to do that. And Vinny, I've been cutting you off, so I apologize. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
it's no problem. I was just gonna go back to y'all's point about Cincinnati, how exclusion. They had to have 2 phenomenal years to even get that playoff appearance. They had to
Right.
go undefeated like twice,
Right.
and they were like, "Okay, you duplicated what you did, so we'll let you in this time." And then going back to Stoops, you guys talked about how he's kind of made it a power.
Mm-hmm.
And with me looking at Kentucky hires, you kind of look at, well, where's this guy coming from? Well, I looked at Bill Curry. Well, he came from Alabama. He was around a good part. Maybe he can bring some of that here.
Right.
You hope.
Right.
I was like, well, Stoops came from Florida State and Miami. Maybe he can bring some. He's been around some good programs. Coach Ed Reed knew all this kind of stuff. He's defensive coordinator. And slowly but surely, methodically, he kind of hasn't blinked. He's knew what he was going to do, and he's gradually put all the pieces in place to where you looks around. I got good football here, like I had there. Right. Deion Walker and these recruits of commit today. We're not huge recruiting guys, but Brian Robinson out of Youngstown, edge rusher, just committed. We saw what happened with Josh Allen, and he was a 2-star that only Kentucky and Monmouth offered. Yeah. Now Stoops getting 4 stars when he's developing and recruiting like this.
Well, Stoops,
look out now.
If he's getting 4 stars, that's fantastic. Plus, you said Youngstown, Ohio.
That's where the Stoops was in Merrill. They're out front, yeah.
Yeah, Stoops is from Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah.
I used to live right around the corner in Warren, Ohio, when I was a kid. I still got a lot of family in Warren and Youngstown, Ohio. There might be somebody listening to this show from there. I know there's folks that listen to my show from there a lot. There's so not only to build on your point, Vinny, not only did Cincinnati have to go undefeated twice, UCF had to do it, and Memphis had to go and lose 1 game to Penn State in the what was it, the Cotton Bowl. I mean, the entire conference had to basically build these blocks up to, okay, here's another American Athletic Conference team that's undefeated. Are we going to let them in this year? Because UCF did it, they didn't let them in. Memphis got there, didn't let us in. But we got a nice little, consolation to go play Penn State in the Cotton Bowl. Okay, fine. We lost that game by, I think, 14 or whatnot, but it was a lot better than people thought. And they were like, well, maybe we should let one of these teams in. Cincinnati follows us. It took all of that from 2017 all the way to the time they got in order for them to get in. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how many. There were so many things that had to go right for them to even get a shot. That it's and that's why they're actually in the Big 12 now. So there's but most teams don't. You're right. You guys are right. Most teams, they don't have that opportunity. They're not at the beginning of the season. There's a lot of the futures already semi-painted as to how this college football season is going to go in terms of who's at top. You have to be able to beat at least 4 ranked teams in order to go from, unranked to, playoffs by the end of the year. And if you can do that, then, you're in the picture. But, if you're not ranked, if you're not even in the AP top 25, then it's very hard to get into, the college football playoff if you don't start there at the beginning of the year.
Question from our guy, Jay Hayes. We got it popped up here in response to what you were saying. Doesn't that fall on the coach, though, for who are they scheduled to play? Your thoughts on that?
Somewhat. I mean, your in-conference schedule is your in-conference schedule, right? But your out-of-conference schedule, you can still schedule those. And, it does fall on your strength of schedule, out of conference does fall on your coach to do. So, in part, yes. However, if you notice, and here's something that I want to see happen, because it's always been a theory of mine, guys, that we didn't need to schedule these football games out 7 years. We don't need to do that. This was 2023. And I was just like, what we need to do is figure out, just like the NFL, figure out, year after year, who are the best teams in these conferences and start doing like some round robins, number one plays number one, number two plays number two, number three plays number three. And I got some kickback, some flack on that, like, oh, we can't schedule the hotels, this, that, and the other. Oh, it'll be a logistics nightmare. Then COVID hits. Then we had to do it. And we did it. And I was like,
that was just playing phone tag, like, what you doing in 2 weeks? I'm free in 2 weeks. Let's make it happen. Right.
And I was just like, well, if we
pulled the curtain back
during a global pandemic, why can't we do this during the regular season? Because I think, like, I would love to see a situation where, and now since the Pac-12 is dissolved, it may be even easier. But I'd love to see a situation where at least the top 5 of each of these conferences have like some sort of round robin every year to schedule each other. It makes it a lot easier for us voters to figure out which conference is what. And to Jay's point, I mean, if the out of conference schedules had more meaning to them, then I think we'd know a lot more, or there would be more opportunity, I would say, throughout the season, and people would be playing for something. Like, hey, I finished 5th or I finished 4th in my division. Next year, I'm in this round robin to play some of the bigger programs in these other conferences, and that's going to do nothing but strengthen your schedule there.
My little sister agreeing. She's saying, right, play the best teams for everyone's strengths. Makes sense.
Well, and a little bit to that, Memphis, you remember the old Metro Conference, right?
Oh, yes.
And so trying to explain to folks that the Metro Conference was mostly city schools,
yep,
but they were all little brother colleges in their state.
Yep.
Louisville,
yep,
Memphis State,
right,
Cincinnati, right, Virginia Tech, right? Yep. All those teams, Florida State for a little bit before they made it ACC.
That's right.
So these schools have this institutional kind of memory of they've been bucking the system forever and ever. Like the Tigers have been trying to eat off of the Volunteers scraps. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals trying to eat off our scraps, right? And Cincinnati trying to be able to. So for those programs to, I'm a Memphis State dude. Like Mama B, we Tigers through and through, but they've got this chip on their shoulder of we will show you. And so when Memphis does well, when Cincinnati does well, even UCF, being in the shadows of but the thing too is what's the benefit in playing these teams if you're Ohio State
has to be forced, because I guarantee you there's no reason, like the worst possible scenario for any of the Power 5 teams was to play the American Athletic Conference in between the time it started and last year. The American Athletic Conference had a winning record against Power 5 teams. Imagine that. Like, oh man, I got UCF on it. It was a real interesting thing, because people were saying like we weren't Power 5, but we just beat Power 5 schools. And that was the thing. It was just like, well, wait a minute, why are we? And that's why they started snatching them. There was an interesting, and to your point, that was always our time to show the world. Everybody had them circled. Everybody, even Houston would go out and do something crazy and beat a team that they weren't supposed to beat. That would give them, a ranking. Memphis would go beat them. That would give us a ranking. UCF doing the same thing on the other side, and all of a sudden we're ranked playing in the both of us are ranked playing on our championship game, and that's not supposed to happen. But that was happening because we were going out there and beating the Power 5 teams that were ranked, and that's how we were conference killers. Nobody should be scheduling us, but the problem is they were scheduling us out 4 or 5 years in advance, maybe 7 even. And now you're coming up, wait a minute, man. They were playing in the Cotton Bowl last year. We don't want Memphis on the schedule. No, man. They got dudes playing in the NFL. We can't have that. And that was one of those, it's a reality check for a lot of the Power 5 programs. That's what that conference was. Now, not so much. Tulane's there. We saw what they did last year. They're still around. Memphis is still there. Tulsa, ECU, they still need to get it together. They were good ones, but there's not a lot of UTSA, the Roadrunners.
Oh yeah.
They were good. Frank Harris, he's still a stud. But you don't have you're not looking at your schedule and you're looking at the top 6, American Athletic Conference teams. Like, I don't want to have nothing to do with them because those guys really have a winning record against all of us. It was a dream of mine just to roll up into UCLA and win. We did that. It's an interesting thing when you start looking back at like how those schedules are built and when, and looking at what the records were then when they scheduled them, because that's been the problem for a lot of these teams, and then all of a sudden, if you start scheduling these teams when they're 3-9, and then 5 years later they're coming out of a Cotton Bowl, then what do we do now?
Right.
Now that boosts your schedule if you can beat them. But those were the teams that the American Athletic Conference were picking off, which is how Cincinnati even got. Like I said, it kept happening. It kept happening. And all of a sudden, Cincinnati's in the college football playoff. Like, well, wait, we can't have this happen. They're not supposed to be here. We built this so that they're not here. But because of those scheduling, and I would say scheduling faux pas, because if you're any one of these teams, Oklahoma, UCLA, you don't want to lose to the American Athletic Conference. So you might lose a recruit that way too.
Well, and it doesn't help that the big state schools won't play those teams. Texas won't play Houston. No. Ohio State won't play Cincinnati, and Tennessee
ain't playing Memphis.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. So,
and there's a reason for that, and there's a really good reason for that. I mean, Peyton Manning is still one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
When Memphis beat Peyton Manning and denied Tennessee a national championship, that was it. They were like, we're not ever playing them again. We're going to get them off the schedule. This ain't happening. We can't have the in-state school beat us. And that's the only win that we've ever had over them. That's the funny thing. We're like 22-1. But the one year, that Peyton Manning has this shot, we beat them, and they're just like, okay, we're not doing this anymore.
Yep.
Let's what
that's a wrap.
Let's let the contract run, and that's a wrap. We'll never put ourselves in that position again. And believe me, I understand that. I get it. That's the only reason why Peyton Manning doesn't have a championship, a college football championship. And I understand why they won't do that. But I remind them, like, hey, you still don't want to play us, and I understand why. But the other thing, though, I love is the Louisville UK matchup every year. I love that. I love to see you guys play because that doesn't happen in every other state. That's a real rivalry between real rivals, and that rivalry I've seen can go either way.
And the best thing about it, it doesn't matter the sport. It is just a brutal, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a joy. The 7 years that I lived in Louisville over in Fern Creek, it was a joy. Yeah, Fern Creek.
That's right, man.
Yeah. But the 7 years that I lived out there, man, those were some of the most special. Those are some rivalry years, and I really got into that rivalry. And I was like, man, this is like sports right here, because it could be soccer, it could be volleyball, it didn't matter. Women's basketball. It was a real rivalry, and I don't know, outside of North Carolina, I'm not sure if many states really. Well, I mean, there's always Michigan, Ohio State. But in-state rivals, I don't think that there's that many in-state rivals. Maybe UCLA, USC, where it gets that hectic. But usually it's a bigger outer-state rival like Texas and Oklahoma or something like that. It's not a big in-state rival like Louisville and Kentucky. That's a real rival right there. And that rivalry ain't ending soon. Nope, it ain't ending anytime soon. There's hate. There's legit hate in that rivalry.
That's right. Hey, Memphis, tell us for everybody real quick what you got coming up on your show, College Credit Hour. And we got to get you on again. We got our next guest in the PS3 Network Green Room, but it's been too long. Got to get you on again before football's over and, basketball is coming. But what you got coming? You always have good content, great guests.
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody where they can find you, how they can listen to you.
Tony Siracusa, Last Word on College Football, is going to be on Thursday. I think we're also going to have one of our intern writers on Thursday, also on my show, the College Credit Hour, noon to 2 Eastern. Sports Radio America are doing a lot of stuff. We're starting to build out infrastructure on a network called OmniTube. There's going to be a Sports Radio America TV there, and that's on Roku and Fire TV right now. So. And OmniTube has pretty much everything: movies, shows. We're gonna have some live sports talk, everything there. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot going on, a lot still happening over on my area, and it's always a pleasure to grace the airwaves with two of the legends of Kentucky. Two of the legends.
We appreciate it, and Mama B's gonna appreciate that being from Memphis with that Fern Creek shout out. That's a very narrow window of people that represent, but we always appreciate it, Memphis.
Yes, sir.
Take care, guys.
Memphis. Appreciate you, man. Memphis Spence, Sports Radio America, College Credit Hour.
Yeah.
Catch him twice a week on Mondays and Fridays, and you'd be glad that you did. So we definitely appreciate you.
Mondays and Thursdays.
My bad. Mondays and
Thursdays.
Thursdays.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My bad. Thank you. Mondays and Thursdays. Check them out, and we'll get you back on again. Up next, we have our guest who is from my hometown of Lynch, Kentucky, fellow Harlan Countyan, a little bit younger than me. I think he was a freshman when I was a senior. But he wears a lot of hats. He is the director of operations for the Portal 31 Coal Mine and Tour in Lynch, Kentucky. Got a lot going on this week. It's a busy week, and he's here to talk to us about what's going on and what everybody can come to Lynch and see. We got Nick Sturgill. Nick, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, Vinny. How are you?
Can't complain. Just so glad I got in touch with you yesterday and we were able to talk, and you were able to take some time out of your busy week with everything going on leading to Friday to hop on here, man. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, man. And it was a pleasure getting to chat with you yesterday.
Oh, man, definitely enjoyed it. So tell everybody, you can start wherever you want, what's going on Friday, why everybody's coming to Lynch, what the center of attention is going to be. I'll just give you the floor and what you do, all the hats you wear, in addition to what's going on at the Portal.
Well, here in Lynch, Kentucky, we've got a little place called Portal 31. And Portal 31, we have an underground exhibition mine. And the mine actually opened up for tours back around 2007, 2008. But the last 3 years, we've actually been undergoing a $2.5 million renovation, and finally got that completed. And we're set to have our grand reopening this Friday at 11 a.m. And as far as Portal 31 goes, I tell everybody there's not another place like it in the world. There's really not. This is a place I tell people that you can actually come and experience the history. You being from Lynch, you understand Lynch is full of history. That's all Lynch is pure history. And here at Portal 31, people can come and do an actual underground mine tour and really get to experience that firsthand. They get to experience a little bit of the blood, sweat, and the tears that these men went through. Mining this coal here in Lynch and in Harlan County to, not just only help their lives, but help better the country, help win 2 world wars, things like that. But, it's been a hectic week, but we're looking forward to Friday, looking forward to our grand reopening so that, we can get as many people in here as possible so we can give them a tour of the mine and give them a, little bit of understanding, a little better feeling of what these men went through working in this mine.
And looking at the website, portal31.org, this is Kentucky's first exhibition mine, right? So y'all are trend setting in that area too. First in the state.
Yeah, we're actually the first and still the only exhibition mine in the state of Kentucky.
Absolutely. And you talk about, so many people in the history. Where we're from, you're either a son, a grandson, a great grandson, a nephew, or of somebody who worked in the coal mines. Both of my grandfathers worked in the coal mines. My dad's dad moved from Alabama as a teenager to Lynch because they heard down there that, hey, they're mining coal in Kentucky and they're paying good wages, and things are better there than they are here in Alabama. And this is early 30s. He's born in 1915, right. So early 30s. He, as a teenager, moved to Kentucky, and my mom's dad, his family came when he was a toddler. So that's why we're in Kentucky. And so a lot of other people from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, you name it, came to Lynch at that time.
Yeah, and that's one thing that really sets Lynch apart from a lot of other coal camps is Lynch is well known for having over 40 different nationalities living and working here at one point in time. And that's mainly because, early on here when U.S. Steel, that's who came into Lynch and actually built the place. When U.S. Steel came into Lynch early on, they had an issue with manpower. They really couldn't find enough men to work. You had a lot of men off fighting World War I and trying to get men underground. It was tough early on. First call for manpower was for 2,000 men. That was an issue in 1917. So what U.S. Steel did, they actually set up recruiting offices in and around Ellis Island, and were actually recruiting immigrants to come to Lynch. And, if you think about it, you hear that old story of an immigrant, kind of getting off the boat, having just a couple of bucks in his pocket. What's the main things that they're looking for? Food, shelter, job. And that's what U.S. Steel offered them. And that's why those people came down here. But they really found that American dream here in Lynch. And that's why still today, you've got a lot of those families that are still here.
And for as much as people not from here want to stereotype where we're from, it was more of a melting pot than anywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one thing about Lynch is it was like one big family. And, growing up, your dad being a coal miner and all, there's no camaraderie like it that I've ever seen other than the military, as far as men working underground. And these men became one big family. And that's why I always say, I've never seen in my life a group of people with more pride than people from Lynch. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And it goes back to those men working in the mine because, you're not only looking out for yourself, you're looking out for the guy next to you. And that not only happened under the ground in the mine, that happened when they got outside in the town. Because early on, it was tough going, especially living here in a company town, these men fighting to join a union. It was tough. It was tough.
Absolutely. So definitely appreciate you, painting a picture of the history. I know you said the tours are all booked up. When people come and take the tour, and starting Friday with the grand reopening, what are they going to see? Maybe don't spoil it, but give an idea of what they'll see or how it's set up, or describe it how you want to. You're the director of operations. You do what you want, Nick.
Yeah. One thing that sets us apart from every other coal mining tour really in the country is on our tours, you actually don't hear a real person talk to you. Our tours are all fully automated. It's all done with animatronic figures. We actually have an underground IMAX theater in our mine. And the way that our tour is set up, not to give too much away, but we visit 8 different stops. Each stop is a different period in time. For instance, stop 1 is set in the year 1919. We progressed through 8 different stops to the year 1960, which was 3 years before Portal 31 shut down. And at each stop, they'll show you the different types and aspects of mining that they did at that point in time. And like I said, the last stop on the tour, stop 8, it's an underground IMAX theater. I don't know of any other mine anywhere in the world that has an IMAX theater in it. And I always tell people that IMAX presentation is worth a ticket price by itself. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
TV man, jump in. I ain't trying to just.
No, I'm excited about this, Nick. When Vinny said that you were coming on, because I'm from Louisville, but I'm Kentucky born, Kentucky
Absolutely.
bred, and I'm in Iowa now. Don't ask. Long story. Got married, but I am always beating my chest on what Kentucky means to the nation, because it does get overlooked a lot.
Absolutely.
And I tell people, last year with the floods and everything, I said, you're not going to find hardier people than Kentuckians, period, or Eastern Kentuckians specifically. Because I tell people, St. Louis calls itself the gateway to the West, but we all know the first westward expansion started in Eastern Kentucky.
Right.
And I said, that spirit of we're going to make this work.
Exactly.
Lives on in the state of Kentucky.
Absolutely.
And when I hear stories of, the coal miners and the farmers, I tell, because again, in Iowa, they farm, right? They do a lot of corn here, but I'm like, the thing is about Kentucky, stuff don't grow. Like, you got to really work the land. You got to dig into it to make a life here. Like right. It's and people have their jokes about what Kentucky is and Kentucky isn't, but that's why I love what you all are doing, because that coal, it didn't just stay in Kentucky. It went all over the world, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think there's this mindset of what Kentucky is, but I love stuff like this where we can explain, no, Kentucky is way more than you think, and really way more important to the other 50 than you might think.
Absolutely. When I was younger, I grew up always wanting to be a history professor because I love history. I always wanted to teach history. This to me is better than any teaching job I could ever find, because to me, I don't get political with coal mining like a lot of people do. What I want people to understand and realize when they come here, I want these people to understand what these men went through. I want them to understand what they were fighting for. And it goes back to what you just said. Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, we get stereotyped as, the dumb, ignorant hillbillies, with one tooth in our head. But these coal miners, there's not another breed like them in the world. They're hard workers, they're family people, but, the blood, the sweat, the tears that these men went through, and women, to help build this country, like you said, coal didn't stay in Kentucky. This place here helped fuel the Industrial Revolution. It helped win 2 world wars. It helped build the skyscrapers in every city in the United States simply because U.S. Steel, they wanted this coal for steel production. Okay. And that's really what I want people to understand, when they come here, is mining coal. There's nothing like it in the world. And there's no other job that I know of besides the military that actually helped build this country into what it is today. And that's why I just love working here. I love, taking people through the mine and just letting them realize really what these men went through. And that's why I can't wait till Friday till we can reopen this place and start bringing people in here. And Vinny, I can't wait to see you on Friday, man. And I hope that I'm able to take you through here. I really do.
Hey, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of dignitaries and big shots is coming TV down to Lynch. So don't be making exceptions for me. If I can't get in Friday, I'm definitely gonna come back and get in. Don't be pushing me ahead of whoever that you already got coming. But I'm definitely excited about it. What's on the agenda? Like I know it starts at 11, but maybe if there's itinerary, if you will, of what will happen on Friday that you know?
The program's really from 11 to 1, but beginning at 11, that's when we're going to have the little ceremony. We're going to have Congressman Rogers and people like that, of course, will get up and speak. We'll also have food over at the Lynch Depot. So after the speaking engagement's done, the public can actually go and eat. Now, we're going to start running tours at 12 noon. Of course, the main dignitaries and the VIPs, I think they're going to end up, of course, going first. And then we'll run tours just as soon as we bring them out. We're going to run more. And we'll probably run up until dark. I would say 6, 7 o'clock, we'll be running tours.
A full day. That's awesome. That's awesome. Terry, our friend of the show, we had her on, nicking out to school with her. Brandy Romans is coming and doing a big cake. She's going to be there as well. So
I can't wait to see that. It's supposed to be something else. I was told that she was going to do a cake, actually make it of the portal.
You know, she can do it.
I have no idea how she's going to do that, but I can't wait to see it.
Hey, she doesn't make a cake that isn't something. So you're
right.
Yeah. So that's going to be amazing. Where can everybody go for more information? Since you're reopening, if they want to plan to come and take a tour and get a hold of you or get a hold of who they need to get a hold of to schedule a tour and visit.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, we will be launching a new website shortly. Within another month, maybe we'll be launching a new website. But as far as getting reservations for the tour, because I do strongly recommend it, just call the portal, the number 606-848-3131. And we're open Tuesday through Saturday. We start running tours at 10 a.m. We run at the beginning of every hour with our last tour at 4. Like I said, I do strongly recommend making a reservation. And really the only way that you can set up a reservation is to call the office. Now, in the future, that's going to change. When we launch our new website, we'll have online ticket sales, online reservations, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, sounds good. Got a question there. We just showed it on the screen. Michelle Morton, been listening to us since day one. She said, were there very many women working in the mines?
Now, unfortunately, we never had a female work inside Portal 31, and that's simply because it shut down in 1963. Female miners really didn't start in Southeast Kentucky until the early 1970s. However, here in Lynch, Mine 32, Mine 33, Mine 35, all those other mines here in Lynch had women working in them. Vinny, I know your dad, my dad, they all worked with women. And I know my dad always used to tell me that they were the hardest workers.
Yeah.
Usually that's how that goes.
Yeah. And and I know you remember, he was just a little bit ahead of us in school, Anthony Ravizzi, Fig, which we had Anthony on TB. He went to Morehead State. He was a couple years ahead of me, played running back and defensive back. His mom, Drina, worked in the mines. And that's what my sister Tara's putting on the comment. Fig's mom, Drina, worked in the mines too. And that was when we were 10, 11, 12 teenagers coming up. We all knew Drina was in there side by side with all the men. Sure.
Vinny, did you know Thomas and Julius Jones from Powell Valley, Virginia?
Yeah.
And went pro. Their mom and dad both worked in the mines.
That's right.
Sure did.
And Dad worked over there at Pardee for a while, and he would see him and got to know him. And if he was on a Friday, he'd go to a high school game over there just as much as he would in Kentucky. So got to see him play. My sister is still an RN. She was there in Big Stone. She would see him when she go to the walking track. They'd be working out and stuff. So yeah. And believe it or not, I was talking with Thomas on Twitter one time, but they've got family in Lynch as well, even though they grew up, over in Big Stone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they got family in Lynch. Sure do.
They were heck of football players. I know that.
Man, yeah, they were amazing. Sure were. Julius there with the Cowboys, Thomas with the Bears and the Jets, and Yeah, they were so.
I see you with all that Cowboys gear on. What's brought that up?
Well, we Terry and I we're both Kentucky fans. The whole thing with this podcast is we agree on Kentucky and disagree on everything else. And he's a big 49ers fan, and they play this weekend, so
that's going to be a good one. Now, I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, those two teams right there are the best in the NFL right now.
And the Cowboys
that's going to be a good game.
We need to beat them boys. It's been too long, and everybody's
we'll
sick
see.
of them. We're all sick and tired of them. So.
I have to ask Stephen A. Smith what he thinks of the Cowboys.
Oh well, we all know what he thinks. Lord have mercy. So the Joneses were related to the Clarks, like Charlie Clark.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Thank you, little sis Tara. Your thoughts on the Cats in Georgia since you're on here, Nick? Before we let you go, man.
Obviously that's going to be a tough one, but the way that Georgia's been playing this year, kind of starting out slow in these games. I really think if Kentucky can run the football on them a little bit and not turn the ball over. I mean, who knows? On any given Saturday, any given Sunday, anybody can win. And I'm going to pull for Kentucky. Now, my brother, believe it or not, is a big Georgia fan.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be a little bit of a problem. But, I mean, in all honesty, I don't really see them beating Georgia. But, I mean, they've got a puncher's chance. I really believe that.
And the most legitimate chance in a long time.
If it was at Commonwealth or Kroger Field, I'm sorry, I think it would be a little bit different. But I think being in Georgia, this thing is going to be a little too tough for them. Yeah, but I hope they pull it out.
Yeah, and like you said, if they can jump on them. Like South Carolina was up on them at halftime, and
yeah, absolutely,
they barely got out of Auburn
with
a win Saturday. So. They're
you,
still very good, but they might be coming back to earth a little bit. And
I think so. I believe so. But like I said, if Kentucky can run the ball on them a little bit, not turn the ball over, they got a puncher's chance.
Absolutely.
I really believe that.
For sure. Well, I can't wait to see you Friday. I'm going to head up there early Friday morning and see everything.
And I'm coming. I'm going to come visit.
Please do so.
Although I'm not from Eastern Kentucky, I wear my Kentucky stuff with pride because we just get overlooked. We really do. Everybody knows the first 13, right? And everybody knows the Wild Wild West when we went westward. But there's that time period where we go from east to west where it's like, and Kentucky was the driving force. I don't need to tell you anything you don't know, Nick. But I just like to beat my chest a little bit when it comes to Kentucky. We're more than just horses and bourbon. Although those are important,
absolutely,
we do other things as well. So I appreciate you coming on.
No, I completely agree. But, we get people here literally from all over the world. And like I tell everybody that comes through here, at least for today, you're part of the Lynch family. And I hope you'll come down and see us too, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Looking forward to it, and definitely looking forward to you coming back, TB, for sure. And continued success. Have a great grand reopening. Can't wait for Friday morning and continued days of opening and tours and full reservations from here on out, Nick, man. Thank you so much. And
we appreciate
it. TB, nice meeting you, buddy.
Nice meeting you too, sir.
Have a great day. Vinny, I'll see you Friday, bud.
Yes, sir. See you, Nick. Thank you so much. Nick Sturgill, Director of Operations for Portal 31 right there in our hometown of Lynch, Kentucky. Little sis Tara saying, come on, TB. Come on down.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't remember what I was talking to the wife about. I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, Kentucky was very, very important. Just, in the formation of the country. Remember, you got your first 13, and then you get, I think it's Vermont or New Hampshire is number 14. I can't remember which one. Mm-hmm. But, we were the first ones going to the West.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And, when you think about the Abe Lincolns and the Henry Clays and there's Kentuckians' fingerprints all over the formation of the United States into the 20th century. Mm-hmm. So, But yeah, listen to the farmers like, hey, nothing grows in Kentucky. I've had to dig into the Kentucky clay. It ain't great, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, man. So that's gonna be a fun day. Be fun to get back home and see
Awesome.
everything with the reopening for sure. So thank Memphis Spence and Nick for coming on, and Mama will cook for y'all TV. So
Yeah, we need to come down there and bring Mama B. She wants to come down there.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. But we talked about Florida. I guess we got to talk about Georgia a little bit. I think Kentucky's got a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my thing is it used to be when we were in school, oh, we got Florida and Georgia. Okay. And then you'd have to get a whole list and be like, if this, if this, if this, if this, if this. But now it's like, you know what? Hey, we can run the ball against these guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Memphis Spence was talking about. You got these plays. We know we can get 4 or 5 yards doing this. That opens up the playbook. That makes things easier. Now, I know Georgia's a different animal.
Yeah.
I get that. But, I mean, losing 16-6 and Georgia was dominant last year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The previous year with 30-13 and the only team to score 2 touchdowns through most of the regular season on that Georgia team. So the gap is not as wide as it used to be.
Yep.
I just think defense travels. The big thing, obviously, you want to do something with Brock Bowers. He broke Auburn's back on Saturday. It's much easier said than done, but Kentucky's got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And all you need is a legitimate shot. A puncher's chance. The thing is, you got to knock the champ out. The big plays have to be there.
Yeah.
Whether it's Brown, in the kick return game, there's going to be a point where Leary's going to have to make a throw.
Yeah.
And the receiver's going to have to make a catch.
Yes.
It's just that simple. Like when I talk about quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Even if you've got a game manager, there's throws and plays that you have to make to win. You look at great quarterback runs, and Terry Bradshaw's numbers are pretty pedestrian. But we all remember those highlights of throwing to Lynn Swann and Stallworth, right? Like, I know.
Why you gotta bring them up? See,
because you wearing that stuff on my show. So
you wearing that stuff on my show.
Well, there we go. But Leary and company, they got to make some plays, and I think they can. I think the defense is up to the challenge.
Yeah, because man, they are flying around. I mean, this is. As soon as a Florida receiver caught it, I mean, there were guys there. They were making tackles, unlike LSU. Ole Miss was just breaking tackles left and right. And we had Coach Collins on here.
Yeah.
Ask him about when you got to do like a Brock Bowers, and then ask him also about you getting these guys on defense and getting them developed. Does it allow Brad White to get in his bag? The answer is clearly yes, because Deion Walker's dropping back in coverage, and they're showing all these looks that they hadn't shown before.
What are you gonna do?
Brad White is in mad scientist mode, man. So
he's cooking. Let that boy cook. Look, I said it on Round of Shots. I'm not gonna back off of it. Said it on Spaces. I got Cats by 3. I think it's going to be like 20-17, something. This is going to be a throwback to the 1990s. We are not going to see what LSU and Ole Miss did, right? No. This is going to be a physical game, and the winner going to be too exhausted to lift their hand up. Mm-hmm. I just think it's going to be in for a battle. That's just my 2 cents. It's a tough order, and I'm not saying it isn't, but I do think that. I think the Cats can get it done. That's my mindset.
Absolutely. I got one little soapbox to get on before we get off of here, and I don't do that a lot, but your lovely wife is a Cubs fan. I don't know if she was part of this, what I'm talking about. Our good friend Sarah Sanchez was, and she's been on here a couple of times. the Cubs fans that got so salty about the game being stopped when Ronald Acuna from my Braves joined the 40-70 club, stole the seventh base, and the broadcast guys, Boog, Shambi, and whoever is there now, and they were like, "Hey, we're in a playoff race, and they're stopping the game," and rah, 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 and Acuna got the base and held it up, and they clapped, and it was in Atlanta, and they've been playing baseball a long time. Nobody has ever hit 40 home runs and stole 70 bases in the history of the game. I know the Cubs are in a playoff race trying to make a wild card, but to me, for them to be that salty about a little stoppage, I'm like, y'all got to chill. Because if the Cubs were in this playoff race, if they're playing in Wrigley and say they call up a dude from AAA because need him to fill a spot, and he gets his first hit, they're gonna clap and give him the ball in Wrigley in the middle of this playoff chase. So don't holler at us about what we did for Ronald. I'm just not trying to hear the Cubs fan. No disrespect to your Kate, no disrespect. I love Sarah Sanchez as well, but Cubs fans got to chill.
They was just salty, man.
Come on,
because
man.
it was one of those things where the Cubs season, if you had told them they'd be in the playoff hunt at the beginning of the season, they'd have taken it, right? They started off slow, they had a nice little run and got close, and then the wheels fell off, as we see happen fairly often in Major League Baseball, where a great summer, then all of a sudden it's just the wheels fell off. I thought they were a little bit extra salty about that.
Calm down. And when we had Sarah on, it was right at the All-Star break. And she was real optimistic about, hey, the schedule is weak. Our batting average has been this and this and this compared to Milwaukee and Cincinnati and this and this and this. And she was laying out a path to, hey, we can turn this around and finish strong. And it didn't happen. And so they was a little salty. Michelle is a Cubs fan, I know. And look, the Cubs fan, y'all got to chill. That's all. I just had to say that.
I get it, but looking around college football, I don't know that any team is really, really good. Do we know who's good? Highlight: Brian Ferentz is behind the hole again because he's still got to average 27 points. Didn't get it against Michigan State, even though lost Kate McNamara for the year. So I don't know. Look at the rest of the schedule. I don't see 30-point games coming. I don't see it. Mm-hmm. I don't see it. So that's only going to get more and more awkward.
Yeah, it's awkward when defense and special teams is kicking in on it for your contract. That was already a little.
Well, Cooper DeJean he broke the game open with a punt return. He's got 6 or 7 career touchdowns. He's second in his time at Iowa in touchdowns scored, and he plays defensive back.
See, stuff like that, man.
The defense has been out of this world, but the offense, if it was just mediocre, they'd win 9 games a year. If it was just mediocre, but that is what it is.
I feel sorry for the Corey Price of Iowa to have to look up that. I mean, that dude.
I feel sorry because, like I told you before, when they won that one game last year, 7-3 without a touchdown, and like when you look at offensive ineptitude, whatever the parameters, and I forget the numbers, the rest of college football over the last 40 years was 3 and 300 and something. Like it was just like infinitesimal. Iowa, 2 out of 3. Iowa had 2 out of the 3 wins. Like. They win like this. That's their whole get down. So, but there's that. I don't know. Is Bama back? I don't know. Deion's running up against it out there against USC. So I don't know about that. So I don't know about college football. A lot going on.
It'll sort itself out, and we just have to watch the ebbs and flows of every week. It's like. It's like the stories for sports fans. Oh, I got to tune in and see what's going on this week. That's what it is.
But I got to ask you something before we get out of here now.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're wearing, and I know you got the soundbite ready. I know you got the sound bite for
yeah.
Jimmy Johnson
Yeah.
ready. I know you got that ready.
I gotta upload that. When it's new stuff, I gotta get that uploaded.
But you really think y'all gonna walk into Levi's and walk out with a W?
Yeah, Kentucky can go to Georgia, Dallas can go to Santa Clara, wherever y'all at. Kentucky can go to Athens, Dallas can go to San Jose, Santa Clara, wherever y'all are.
You act like the Dallas is in Dallas.
Hey,
come on now. Look,
touche.
I told Kate about this because I said I know Vinny gonna be on one on Wednesday because he's talking about this game. I love how you act like, because there's a lot of sports names, arenas. We're like, what is that? Like, who is that? I love how you're like, is it Levi's Stadium? Like you ain't heard of Levi's jeans. I love that. I love it. Like I know AT&T's a thing, but is it Levi's? I know you've heard of Levi's blue jeans. And then you go talk about, I know you're not in San Francisco. Where are you? Y'all not in Dallas. Come on now.
Just between Dallas and Fort Worth. Just
come
nice
on
little
now.
Drive from Dallas to Arlington. This.
But look,
never been in Dallas. Used to be in Irving before that. So.
Yeah. So for me, look, I enjoy it. Like we've talked about before when they played. This takes me back to my youth, where it was like, not only did you get the regular season game, but you knew you had to get it was an NFC Championship game as well. So that regular season was sometimes the tiebreaker on who had that home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, that year with Dion's like, okay, we won the regular season game, so now it's coming to the stick, and it came to pass. Had to play in the muck and the mire and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So this takes me back. Memphis Spence talking about great rivalries, and I think pro sports outside of NFC hate, which that whole division, and the NL Central, that whole division, you don't have the rivalries kind of like you used to. Like for me, even the Lakers Celtics, of course I want to be the Celtics, but it's not quite the same. And I don't know why that is.
It's hard to recapture too.
But let me tell you something. I've been looking on the timeline. The faithful to the Bay.
Oh boy.
We are ready to see if y'all them boys. We ready. Are y'all them boys? I've been nice. I have not tagged you. Somebody put a compilation of the last couple of playoff games, the one not getting the snap off, and then whatever it was with Ezekiel Elliott. I saw one. It was great with Titanic music because it's those plays, and it's a shot of the Dallas people, and with their sad faces. We thought we was them boys, and then Celine Dion comes in. I've been good, have not tagged you in it. I have not tagged you in it. And I'll even say this. If the 49ers win on Sunday, I'm not even going to do my dancing. I save my dancing for the playoff games.
I understand that. Mm-hmm.
Like I told Michelle a couple weeks ago, she was on Round of Shots talking about, I said, look, I used to have the 49ers have eliminated Aaron Rodgers dance. And then it evolved to, I can't believe the Cowboys did that on the last play of the game, and the 49ers won dance. So I don't dance during the regular season.
I got you. I understand. That makes sense.
But it's going to be fun. Look, I'm not on Round of Shots because Kevin was like, you coming on? I am going to be locked in. This, to me, this is a big game. I'm locked in.
Absolutely. That was that one time you weren't there, and he asked me again. He asked me to fill in. And I was like, "Nah, man, this Cowboys Niners. I can't."
Yeah.
Michelle talking about Acuna. Give the man his flowers. She, as a Cubs fan, had no problem with it.
Yeah.
The locker chiming in before they go live. A-Dot and Van Hiles. V. Hardy, stay strong. I will. So, yes, I will. One last thing, too. We don't do final shots, but Miguel Cabrera is about to retire, so happy retirement to him.
Yeah.
We thought we'd never see a triple crown in baseball, and he proved us wrong, and he was able to do that. And last two, J.J. Weaver, the feature the dude from CBS did on J.J. Weaver about the grief counseling and not having a place. When he was saying it, Kentucky doesn't have one. They don't have it at UK. I'm like, that's about to change. And now they have sessions every Monday. The young lady is over it. Weaver's in there, Paul Rodriguez, Deion Walker in there. All these guys saying, hey, everybody thinks we're just invincible and our life is great. And we're human too. And so to see them and to see Weaver basically initiate this program. And when he leaves UK, it's still going to be there. That was phenomenal, man.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent and supporter of mental health and and grief. Not to get on my soapbox, but a lot of times we just kind of think, oh, we get sad, when someone passes, and we do, right? Mm-hmm. Or we think, you get sad around a holiday. But the people that have gone on in my life, it's the most random things that'll open up them floodgates, man. And so setting up something to help people navigate that, as I've said before, here, a lot of places, death is the one constant that comes for us all. But we, as a society, really do a bad job of handling it, of talking about it, preparing for it. Even though we all know it's going to happen, we do a really bad job at that. So I tell you, the program on the field, Kentucky football, has been growing and developing, but off the field, it's just been great to see.
Absolutely. So had to get all that in. I think we got everything in. Fun show, fun streaming on here on Twitter.
Wearing that cowboy stuff on my show. Wait, ain't that something?
Fun streaming on here, Facebook and YouTube, and everybody that commented. Thanks to Memphis Spence. Thanks to Nick Sturgill. Thanks to everybody commenting. Go Cats and go Cowboys. Ain't nothing less stuff to say.
Ain't that something gonna cut me off of my own show?
Ain't that,
we faithful to the Bay, baby. We all faithful to the Bay.
Okay. All right. And with that, we will catch everybody next Wednesday.
Don't upset little Jerry.
Oh my goodness. Oh, boy.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I won't get the rest of my stuff out, but don't do it. Always fun. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. It'll be up. You can watch it. You can listen to it wherever you like to check it out. We'll be back again. Thanks again to BS3 Network. Ben Soto, appreciate you. We'll see everybody next Wednesday for another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday.